Yo, what's going on guys? It is Foxy98 here. Welcome back to a brand new video and the first episode of the F1 debate for 2024. If you guys end up enjoying today's video, feel free to drop a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well, and you enjoy the content that you do see. And in today's video, I'm going to be addressing Lewis Hamilton's move to Ferrari for 2025. Now, of course, this is, well, kind of oldish news now. It's been, what, a week and a bit since Lewis Hamilton officially announced that he would be joining Ferrari for the 2025 season. However, there's been so much that's been said about this story, from different issues with all these contracts and XYZ, and just the overall scale of the announcement and how it was being spoken about so much. You can actually see my water bottle and all that. Let's move out of the way. How much there's just been so much talk that I thought what I would do is I would just leave it, let the dust. Well, I say let the dust settle. The fact that I'm still saying Hamilton is joining Ferrari next year still doesn't quite process with my brain properly. So I thought I'd just let that side of things settle, let all the news outlets throw XYZ around, leave it a little bit, and then basically just have a chat with you guys and just let you guys know what me, as a avid Lewis Hamilton fan, genuinely just thinks of the move. So I've got no structure to this video. I have no notes or anything to look at, to work on, as I always do. So I'm just going to chat and ramble. So let's get straight into it then. First things first, we're going to cover a topic or a little discussion which is completely irrelevant, but it's something that me and my dad were having a laugh about. Because obviously, as soon as the news came out, the biggest thing that my dad wanted to have a go at and basically laugh at to me was, you're a Mercedes fan, hence, obviously, my shirt that I'm wearing today. You are a Lewis Hamilton fan, and now Hamilton's going to Ferrari. So what are you going to do about it? Yes, when Hamilton goes to Ferrari, I will probably end up buying a Ferrari cap, but I'm still going to support Mercedes, obviously. So that's not going to change. I'm not just going to join the bandwagon of the Ferrari supporters, because whilst, yes, Hamilton is my idol, he's been my sporting idol since, well, he joined Formula 1. Whilst I've watched Formula 1 a couple of years before Lewis Hamilton joined, I wasn't really, I don't know, as switched on with it all. For me, at that time period, back, when Schumacher won his final title, 4 and Alonso came in 5 and 6. For me, at that young of an age, I was mostly more excited about just seeing cars going really fast and the super loud engines. That's all I cared about. I didn't really know anything else about that. I didn't really have that knowledge. But when Hamilton came in 2007 and sort of just took the sport alight and really just lit up British sports in a way, that's when I sort of supported Hamilton, because realistically it was only, I believe, Button in the Honda that was useless, that was obviously there. So I ended up following Hamilton. Obviously he didn't win it in 07, then I cheered him in 08, and that's kind of how I supported Hamilton. That's kind of been my journey to supporting him. However, Mercedes is my favourite car manufacturer, always has been, always will be. So no, the only awkward situation is going to be when, for example, say next year, the battle for the Constructors' title is like it was last season. Put it that way, like it was last season. Hamilton in the Ferrari versus Mercedes. And I'm going to be there like, I really want Mercedes to win. But then I'm going to have Hamilton just there in a Ferrari fighting the Merc. And I'm going to be like, how am I going to do this one? It's almost like, when you score a goal in football for the club that you just transferred away from and you don't celebrate it. That's probably how I'd be like. I'd be there like Hamilton would overtake, say, Russell in the Mercedes, and he'll breeze on through and set the fastest lap or whatever past Russell, and I'd be like, well done, Lewis. I won't even applaud, I'll just be like this. Well done. I don't know. I don't know. It's such a weird concept to think of. But overall, the move itself then, going away from my own personal likes of Formula 1, yes, I like Hamilton. I mean, put it this way, how can you not like Ferrari? Like, as Sebastian Vettel said, I think it was in 2016, everybody at heart is a Ferrari fan. And let's put it out there, if Formula 1 didn't have Ferrari, would Formula 1 be what it is today? No, not at all. Ferrari is a staple of Formula 1. For me, there's probably 4 teams right now on the grid that, for me, sort of symbolize Formula 1. Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, Mercedes. Now, if I'm going to put them in an order of which one I think is more important, should I say, than everyone else, I'd say Ferrari is the most important team on the grid. Then it's McLaren. I'm going to be biased. Then I say it's Mercedes, and then it's Red Bull. Probably those two teams are sort of next to each other because they've both sort of gained their history of their dominance in the sport in this recent era. whereas Ferrari and McLaren have that history that they work on, and they're still constantly able to be at the top all the time. And I think that's where Red Bull and Mercedes probably need like another 20 years of just being super successful-ish. Not every single season to be at that level. But I think it's a beautiful move. I think it's a brilliant move, personally, for me, for Lewis Hamilton to be going to Ferrari. I think if you look back on his career in Formula One, he started at McLaren, he did it at McLaren. He then obviously transfers to Mercedes, and we all thought it was a really weird move going from a top team like McLaren to a midfield team like Mercedes. But obviously, Mercedes convinced Lewis of the project, and well, he got what he got. 6 Formula One World Championships, countless race victories, countless pole positions, countless records that were broken by Lewis Hamilton. And I think, if you look on somebody's career, right, when you're in a top team, right, when you're coming into the twilight of your career like Lewis Hamilton is, you almost look at it and go, the next contract that you're going to get, realistically, is either going to be your last contract with a top team, for that top team for 2 or 3 years, or you'll get a contract where you can race at a midfield team, say, I don't know, you get a drive at Alpine for the next 3 or so years, you use your experience, you build them up, and you bow yourself out. That's, how realistically a lot of the teams have done it. I mean, look at Fernando Alonso, for an example. I'm not saying he's not really in the top team. He was in Ferrari, he was in Renault, obviously did really well. McLaren, Renault, Ferrari, McLaren, Alpine, Aston. Wow, he's had a lot of transfers, isn't he? But you get the picture. Like, let's not include Alonso because he's had too many different eras in his career. Look at the likes of Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Raikkonen. Both of them drove for Ferrari, and then once their time at Ferrari was up, it wasn't a case of either getting like a contract extension with Ferrari or moving to like a Red Bull, McLaren or Mercedes or something like that. It was, for Vettel's case, it was then an Aston Martin, which, let's be real, it wasn't a great, it's not a top team, it's a midfield/bottom team for when Vettel joined them, obviously. And then Kimi Raikkonen made his move from Ferrari to Alfa Romeo, which, he went there for 2 or 3 years. And Vettel, again, 2 years at Aston Martin. And, you use your experience with that team. You have a couple more seasons. You've finished with your top team now. You're in a midfield team. There's a bit of pressure, obviously, if you don't do well, but you're not in the spotlight anymore. You can just enjoy a couple of years of racing, basically chilling out, and then you're done. But if you're in Lewis Hamilton's state here, you've either continue your rest of your career with Mercedes, which obviously is not going to pan out, and I thought it would genuinely finish with Mercedes. But then when you've got, call it 3-4 years left in the sport, when you've then got Ferrari that come along, even though you're basically coming towards the end of your career, handing out a contract and going, there you go, come drive for us, we want you. I'm sorry, but how can you turn that down? Like, even me as a Mercedes supporter, if I was in Lewis Hamilton's shoes, would I take that offer? Yeah. Like, if you look on it, why wouldn't you? Like, Ferrari is such a historic Formula One team. To be given that opportunity to drive for them, and then, all of your success with Mercedes is there. You've done it all. Like, for me, I think loyalty in Formula One is sometimes a great thing, but it can also really bite you in the back. And in this situation, I think let's say, for example, Hamilton joins Ferrari, maybe he gets 1 or 2 wins, a couple of pole positions maybe, doesn't win another Formula One World Championship, and then he retires from Formula One. When you look back at Lewis Hamilton's career, all you're going to do is look back at his time predominantly at Mercedes when he was at his prime, because Lewis Hamilton built his Formula One career and his sort of backstory and his history around winning for Mercedes. And everybody does that. If you look back at Sebastian Vettel in Formula One, you don't remember anything from Vettel at Aston Martin, realistically. You don't really remember much from Vettel at Ferrari, because if you're a Ferrari fan, you don't want to remember anything because he crashed when Ferrari got it all wrong. You look at Vettel, and when you think of the name Vettel, you think of the name Red Bull. You think of him as a Red Bull driver. You think of him dominating at Red Bull. You look at Michael Schumacher. Yeah, he won a championship with Benetton. I think he might have won 2 titles. No, he won just the 1 title at Benetton. No one remembers or goes back and goes, Yeah, Schumacher. I remember Michael Schumacher. No, he did win. Sorry, he did win 2 championships at Benetton. He won in 94 and 95. I forgot about 95 for some reason. But you don't look at it and go, I remember Michael Schumacher when he drove for Benetton in 1994 and 1995 and beat Williams to the title on those 2 occasions in a Benetton, which in 94, okay, it was illegal because they had traction control and that was banned, but they didn't discover it. And in 1995, the Benetton wasn't actually that great, but the Williams just didn't get it right. You know, no one remembers that with Michael Schumacher. You think of Michael Schumacher, you think of Ferrari. You think of that pairing. And it's the same thing with Hamilton. You think of Lewis Hamilton, you're thinking of Hamilton and Mercedes. Because it's become such a dream partnership that goes back in the memory. There's nothing really more that you need to achieve. You've won 6 Drivers' World Championships at Mercedes. You've won 7 Constructors' titles. No, 8 Constructors' titles at Mercedes. What more do you have to achieve than a couple of years left at the same team and then you bow out? Or, I'm sorry, you've got a contract offer for the most prestigious team in Formula 1 that's come on the table and says, we'll have you for a couple of three or so years. Do you fancy it? Do you know what? Yeah, why not? You've been at the same team for 12, 13 years. Have a change. And for me, I think that's the most important thing. As well as, despite the fact that loyalty is like a key thing, like look at Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc, you know, staying loyal to their 2 teams. At some point, you're going to just want to do something different. Obviously, for Hamilton, maybe if Mercedes got the regulations right, not necessarily in 2022, but maybe in 2023 and showed real encouragement of pushing forwards, maybe it might have twisted Hamilton's mind to maybe accept the contract offer. Now, of course, I get it. There was rumours of, we know Mercedes and Hamilton signed a 2-year deal or a 1-year deal with the option to extend for a further year, but there was a break clause at the end, and Hamilton didn't necessarily have to activate the 2nd year at Mercedes, which is not which he's decided he doesn't want to do. But at the same time, you know, if they got it right in 2023, maybe he would have. Maybe he would have carried on at Mercedes thinking, all right, we had a blip last year, but we can see ourselves, you know, winning the championship straight away. And I think for Lewis Hamilton's sake, he's in Formula 1 specifically to break the record of 8 world titles. He should have done it back in 2021, but what happened in 2021 happened in 2021. And I think for Hamilton's sake, you know, Mercedes are in a position now, to be honest, where they don't need Lewis Hamilton anymore. And that's a really stupid thing probably for me to say, but hear me out on this. If Mercedes got the regulations wrong in 2022, which they obviously did, but they got it right again last year, then for me, Hamilton has the option, I believe, to stay with them. But the problem that Mercedes have got now is they got it wrong in 2022. They got it wrong last year. Mercedes now needs a reset, and Mercedes needs a rebuild. Lewis Hamilton's not in a position to be the man to lead Mercedes to rebuild them. Because let's be honest, Lewis has probably got, let's call it maximum 3 years left in the sport. Because he'll be signing for Ferrari in 2025, 26, and well, if he wants to go into 27, then he can go into 2027. Realistically, if Mercedes are going to kickstart a rebuild, let's be honest, they need a quick, young driver that can spearhead them for the future and take this direction. And guess what? Mercedes have that. They've got George Russell. You know, and George Russell isn't some slouch. He's not somebody that's, you know, let's call it an average number 2 driver. He's a cracking number 1 driver, or can be a cracking number 1 driver. He was brilliant at Williams. He was brilliant in his first year at Mercedes. Okay, last year for Mercedes, he had a very bad season. There's no doubt about that. He didn't get it right. He was out-qualified by Hamilton. He was way down in the championship compared to Hamilton. He made a lot of mistakes. I go back to Canada when he crashed in the wall. Singapore when he crashed in the wall. Of course, he had some DNFs here and there. And he overall just didn't have a good season. But there's no doubt in the talent and the speeds that George Russell has got. And for Russell, realistically, let's be real. He entered into that Mercedes team knowing full well that he was going into Hamilton's territory. And he's done very well. He hasn't crumbled under the pressure. He hasn't done a Sergio Perez or an Alex Albon or a Pierre Gasly when it comes to facing against Max Verstappen. He's gone into that team and not necessarily made him the team leader, but he's asserted himself as a member of Mercedes, if that makes sense to you guys. So realistically, Mercedes can basically put their eggs in Russell's basket and go, okay, we're about to lose here a 7-time Formula 1 world champion. He's going to our rivals Ferrari now. There's nothing we can do about it. But guess what? We have still got a super fast and talented young driver in George Russell still with us. We will be Okay, we'll be hurt by Hamilton leaving. Of course we will. But will we be severely compromised by needing to find a top driver to replace Hamilton? No. We've got Russell. He can be our number one. He's got the capabilities to do that. And I think for Russell, I think you'll actually find, this is just a prediction obviously, I think Russell will become better at Mercedes when Hamilton's gone because the team will focus on Russell. Of course it depends on who Mercedes sign. They might go bold and bring Fernando Alonso in. Sebastian Vettel might just decide, you know what, I fancy coming back to Formula 1. I'm going to go to the German manufacturer Mercedes and have a couple of seasons there. Or if Mercedes go down the route of some young and upcoming drivers like Frederick Vesti or Kimi, I can't remember his surname, you know, there's a good pool of talent that Mercedes can use, or Albon or something like that. I don't know. They've got great talent there. So Mercedes are not going to get super hurt by the whole Hamilton going to Ferrari. They've got enough there to work with. And for Hamilton's sake, like I said, he's not in a position where he needs to be spearheading a rebuild because, you know, life moves on and teams move on and people move on. And Hamilton's kind of at a stage where he doesn't really want that anymore. Whereas with Ferrari are a team, I'm going to be kind of honest again, but, you know, you could take this the wrong way. I feel like Ferrari are a team that are basically desperate for a title. They haven't won a Drivers' or Constructors' Championship since 2007/2008, because they won the title with Raikkonen in 07. I'm pretty sure they won the Constructors in 2008. It's been such a long time now since Ferrari won a title. You get the feeling like, for Hamilton going, I want to win my 8th world title, where is the best place to do that? You're not going to go to Red Bull, because that's Max Verstappen's team. You're not going to go to McLaren, because, yeah, they're on the rebuild, but they're not quite showing yet that they're going to fight for multiple titles. Mercedes are in a position where they can fight for titles, but will they get it right in the time frame that you're looking for? Who's going to go out there and just balls to the wall, go for titles constantly? Ferrari. They are the team. They are the team to do it. For me, if Hamilton's going to win an 8th title, his strongest chance, bar Red Bull, is Ferrari. And if Mercedes are in a position where they're having to do a long rebuild, then Ferrari for 24 and 25 are your strongest options. Because let's be real here. Last season, yes, Mercedes beat Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. But overall, Ferrari definitely deserved to finish second in the championship ahead of Mercedes. The Mercedes, while Ferrari, yeah, they got their concept wrong, there's a lot of things that Ferrari were able to do right towards the end of the season to make their car better suited to high downforce circuits, and their speed on low downforce circuits like Monza and Las Vegas were outstanding. You know, they were very, very good. So for Hamilton, realistically, in 2 years of 24 and 25, I call it 2025. The last year of the regulations, that's going to be a prime opportunity to get a great result in there. So I think it's the right thing to do, and I think it's the right thing for Formula 1, because we were getting into an era where Formula 1 was just getting straight out boring. You know, I mean, Verstappen has signed a long-term deal with Red Bull. I think it's till 2028, if I can remember correctly. Lando Norris has just signed a new deal with McLaren till like 27, 28, I think it was. Something like that. Charles Leclerc has signed a new multi-year deal. We haven't obviously been disclosed what the length of the contract is. So all of a sudden, your top 3 teams in Formula 1 had signed new big deals, and you were not necessarily going to get a big transfer in Formula 1. Which, let's be real, it's just boring for us, because normally we always have these silly seasons, but we never really get like massive. When we get a massive transfer, it's just great fun, because we have so much speculation, so much news, so much reaction to it. And then Russell and Hamilton both signed new deals, and you're thinking, here we go. Now all of a sudden we've got, well, nobody, you know, making any transfers at all. And then just to see Hamilton just come out and just say, I'm leaving Mercedes, I'm going to Ferrari. For me, it's the biggest Formula 1 transfer in the history of the sport. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Vettel to Ferrari, or Alonso from Ferrari to McLaren, or Alonso leaving McLaren again to go back to Renault, or maybe a different transfer is bigger than this one. But I just genuinely believe that this is the biggest transfer ever. And I think it's more so because there was so much thought of Lewis Hamilton going to Ferrari and so many concepts of him going there that we all just accepted it was going to be an alternate reality. But it is going to be a reality. Hamilton will drive for Ferrari. And I think for Formula 1, it's just great, because all of a sudden now we've got Hamilton going to Ferrari. We've got a seat missing at Mercedes all of a sudden. Who's going to fill that seat? Carlos Sainz has no longer got to drive. Where's Sainz going to go? Alonso's now being rumoured to Mercedes. Vettel's being rumoured to come back to Formula 1 and drive for Mercedes for a couple of years. It's just cool. It's what we want. It freshens up the sport. And then when we go to the grid for pre-season testing in 2025, and we see new top drivers at new top teams. You see the first time that Hamilton goes out on track in the Ferrari in Bahrain in test, if it's in Bahrain anyway, in testing, is going to just be so surreal, and it's just going to bring such a big feel-good factor to us as fans. Like, we all want, you know, let's be real, for me as a Mercedes fan, of course, I'm, you know, disappointed to see my man Hamilton in the team that I love. You know, Hamilton's in the team that I love, and all of a sudden now I'm going to be cheering, obviously, Hamilton, because, like I said, I'm still a Hamilton fan, but I'm going to be seeing racing for a team that's a rival of the team that I support, you know? That's the Petronas logo, that's the Mercedes logo, get it right. So that will feel weird, but again, though, out of everything else, it doesn't matter whether I'm a Mercedes fan. It doesn't matter that I'm a Lewis Hamilton fan. The one thing that I will always be, which is always bigger than those two things, is a flat-out Formula 1 fan. I don't care if Mercedes left, I'd be disappointed, but I'd still watch the sport. If Hamilton leaves, I'll be, you know, when he retires, it's going to really hurt me, but I'm still going to watch the sport. You know, the sport is more important than a team or a driver, and it always will be. At the end of the day, if Mercedes were in a position where they weren't fighting for a championship, but we had an epic championship fight between Ferrari and Red Bull this season now coming up, don't care. Obviously, I'd be cheering Ferrari because I hate Red Bull. But as a Formula 1 fan, all I want to see is just championship fights, cracking title deciders, drama, chaos. That's what we want to see. Not what we saw for the entirety of 2023, which was just, oh, well, we know Max is going to get pole and Max is going to win, so it's boring. That's what it was. So to have this freshener of Hamilton going to Ferrari, I think it's a great move for him. I think it's a great move for Formula 1. I think it's a great move for the fans. And I think, like I said earlier, when you're in the twilight of your career and Ferrari come along, of course you've got to accept it. And I think it just goes to show the credibility and the talent that Lewis Hamilton has, that he has been given a chance to still race for a top team that's not Mercedes for the last few years. And as Anthony Hamilton said, you know, Lewis started his racing career in Italy, you know, in karting. So to end it in Italy and to end it with Fred Vasseur, who obviously was his team principal for Prema in F2 and F3, or back then it would have been GP2 and GP3. It's just such a fitting ending. And I've got to say this actually with heart. Fred Vasseur is definitely a chef, because that guy is cooking at Ferrari. I'm just going to put it right out here right now. That man is cooking, because he has signed some top designers from Red Bull and Mercedes. He's sorted out Charles Leclerc's contract. He seems to be removing all the political BS from Ferrari. Unfortunately, they're losing Sainz, who's a great driver, but they've got Lewis Hamilton they're now bringing into the sport as well, into their team. Fred Vasseur is cooking something special at that team. I'm starting to see a little bit of Jean Todt in Fred Vasseur. He's very quiet, but he's very under the radar, and he knows what he's doing. And I think Ferrari have got themselves a title-winning team principal, and that's just my personal opinion on it. I think Ferrari are going to be a force to be reckoned with in the next years or so. If they can get the engine regulations right for 2026, that team's going to dominate for a long time, and it's about time that Ferrari dominated, as my monitor is about to switch off in the process here. So yeah, overall, I think it's a brilliant move. I think it's a great one. I think, you know, all these alternate reality things that you see in Formula 1, like my F1 Journey series, I even put Lewis Hamilton in the F1 Journey for Ferrari in season number 8 alongside Carlos Sainz, and that felt really cool to have a Hamilton racing in a Ferrari, but now we get it for real life, and I think it's brilliant. I think we get so much speculation, and now all of a sudden, the only thing is, right, is this season is basically, for me, feels like GTA 6. You know, we've got 2024. We all saw the trailer for GTA 6. We all saw the announcement for Hamilton moving to Ferrari. And then GTA 6 launches in 2025. And all of a sudden you're thinking, we've got another... You saw all the reactions. It's like, no, we've got another year to wait for GTA 6. And now for 2024, it's, no, we've got another year to wait before Hamilton goes to that Ferrari team. But of course, we get to enjoy Hamilton. For me, as a Mercedes fan in a way, as well as a Hamilton fan, I get to see Hamilton in my favourite team for one more year. So that's kind of cool to see. And then next year, again, we get so much to look forward to in the future, because from 23 into 24, the only thing we were trying to look forward to was what team could try and challenge Red Bull. All of a sudden now, looking forward into the future of the sport, we've got, what can Hamilton do in that Ferrari? Can he beat Charles Leclerc? Can Leclerc go up against Hamilton? Will those two be able to form a cohesive partnership? What's going to happen to Carlos Sainz? Will he get a drive? Will he move over to Sauber and then be a part of the Audi project, which obviously Carlos Sainz Sr. has got a lot of ties with Audi? Will he move into that project? Is Fernando Alonso going to stay at Aston Martin? Will he maybe go to Mercedes? Will Sergio Perez still live at Red Bull? Will Red Bull maybe replace Perez and get a top driver in to counter Ferrari's two #1 driver concept? Will Vettel come back from the spot? There's so much to talk about and to look forward to into the Formula One and keep the Formula One brand relevant that I think it's the smartest and the best move that you could possibly think of. And it's just such a great way to have a twilight career ending for Lewis Hamilton's sake. And like I said, if for me, he wins the championship at Ferrari, he is not even statistically, but he will be labelled, in my opinion, the all-time greatest Formula 1 driver ever to exist. Because right now, it is, and for me, it will always be Ayrton Senna. But if he goes to Ferrari and he wins the title, then it's Lewis Hamilton. You know, he starts his career at at McLaren, wins the title in his rookie era with McLaren. He goes into his mid to prime with Mercedes, wins 6 titles there, and then in the twilight of his career, he goes to Ferrari, wins a championship with them, and then calls it a day. That to me is the all-time greatest driver of all time. But regardless, he's had an outstanding career and will always be remembered. And like I said, he'll still be remembered for his Mercedes era. You'll probably think of him more for his time at Mercedes than you will his time at Ferrari. It all depends on how his Ferrari, session goes. But yeah, that's kind of just what I wanted to say, really. That's all I thought, really. I think it's a great move. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. The comment section is free for you all. Also, if you have got this far, I'll put it in the comments anyway, just in case you haven't got this far. But like I said, if you haven't got this far, thank you. First of all, for watching me ramble on for 26 odd minutes or so. If you have enjoyed the video, drop it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here as well. And let me know what F1 debate video you want to see next. There's a couple that I've got that I'm going to probably do over the next weeks before pre-season testing. But basically, put yours in the comment section down below of what you want to see. Would you like a video of where I discuss a little bit more into the Mercedes side of things? I know I've talked about it quite a bit in this bit, in terms of how Mercedes will be okay. Potential replacements for Mercedes. Do you want me to do a video on that? Maybe I can tie those two in together to just make it, a bit longer, because I've already talked a bit about it. Will Ferrari be able to get a lot? I'd probably not talk about Ferrari. What driver should go for Mercedes, what I think Carlos Sainz could do in his career, a special video on Sainz maybe. You guys let me know. I'd like to see what you guys think. But for now, I'm out of here. So thank you very much for watching and for listening and enjoying it. Like I said, the comments is there. Let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Take care all. Peace.